Hi, I'm Jeff Moran, and this is part of my story in NSEVEN. So I grew up in the church. My parents took me to church at a very young age. I'm one of three boys, and so growing up I went to church on Sunday, Wednesdays, mornings, evenings, all of that stuff. And one day in a church service, one Sunday night in a church service, I was standing next to the aisle, and this man walks by and goes to the front of the auditorium and kneels at the stage. And I thought, man, that looks easy. I can do that. So I stepped out, went down, said a prayer at the altar, and don't even remember what I prayed for. Prayed for my dog or something, and came back to my seat. And my dad whispers in my ear, "Jeff, you can go and get saved if you want to." So I really didn't understand what being saved meant, but I wanted to please my parents, so I went forward, took the pastor by the hand, and said exactly what my dad said: I want to be saved. The next thing I know, I'm being asked hundreds of questions, it feels like, and I'm just saying yes, yes, yes. The next thing I know, I'm saved, and people are walking by, shaking my hand and giving me candy. And you know, as a second grade kid, I thought that was neat, and I need to get saved every Sunday so I can get candy from these folks. But my parents kept me in church, and I continued to go to Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights, and I went to a church camp when I was in 6th grade. And at this church camp, the speaker drew a circle on the board, and he said, "This represents your heart." And inside the circle, he drew a chair. And on that chair, he drew a big S. The chair represents the throne of your heart, the boss. And we're all born with ourself on that throne, that we want to serve ourselves. I was selfish. I wanted what I wanted. And when I saw that picture, I knew that even though I had made a decision earlier in life that wasn't based on what I wanted, it was based on what my parents wanted, I knew that that circle described me, that I still had myself on the throne of my heart. And he drew a cross on the outside of the circle, and the circle represented Jesus, that Jesus isn't in our hearts. Jesus isn't naturally born in us because of our sinful nature. And I wasn't a bad kid, but I still told lies. I still thought of myself first. I dishonored my parents. And all of those sins, even as small as they might be, those sins separated me from a holy and perfect God. And so as I saw that circle, he said the way that you are saved is that you have to take yourself off the throne and put Jesus Christ on the throne. You know, Revelation says that Jesus stands at the door and knocks. And if you let him in, we have to answer that knock, and we have to let him in to our hearts for ourselves, not for any other reason, but for us, because we believe, we know, we're convicted that we are sinners and we can't save ourselves. I can't do enough good things to get rid of my own sin or deal with my own sin. Only Jesus Christ can do that. You see, Jesus lived a perfect life on this earth. He came, he lived, and he died for our sins. He took on my sins, the sins of the world, because he had no sin of his own. And when he was crucified on the cross, he was paying the penalty that I should pay. And he was buried and rose 3 days later. And so as a 6th grade student, I began to really understand that for myself. But I struggled because I had made a decision, and everyone knew that I had made a decision. And so what would people think of me if I now made a decision at 6th grade? So in the privacy of my own heart that night, at that meeting, as he began to draw the cross on the throne of your heart and surrendering your life to him, I said a prayer in my heart to the Lord, asking Jesus to come into my life, to be my Lord, the boss of my life, to take myself off the throne and to put him on the throne of my life. And so I know that in 6th grade, that is when I truly became a follower of Jesus. I was baptized after that as a proclamation of that, and I began trying to live my life for Christ. But then I became really good at sports, and sports became an idol in my life. And so I began to push Jesus over to the side and serve myself again by playing sports, and went to college. I got a scholarship to play, and I went to college and decided that I was going to live with one foot in the world, one foot in the church, and I would make that balance, and that would be okay. And for about 2 years, I struggled with that decision, and struggled to knowing that I needed to give full control of my life to Jesus, and I was too selfish. I wanted control, and I was going to give God these certain areas, and I stayed involved with church. I was involved with FCA, but then I was living for myself every other day of the week. And one of my coaches at Tennessee Tech sat me down in a coaches meeting, and we were talking, and he said, "Jeff, you ought to go to FCA camp and be a leader." And so coach is asking me to do something. I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." And I went to this FCA camp, and they were sharing the responsibilities, and they told me that I was going to have to lead a Bible study. And I thought, what? I can't lead a Bible study. I don't even read the Bible for myself right now. And so that week, I decided that if that was going to happen with those campers, I was going to have to let God do that. And so I said, "God, if this is going to happen, you're going to have to do it. I'm going to give you full control. God, it's all about you this week." And that week changed the rest of my life, that I experienced the joy of God in a different way that I'd never experienced, because now I let God be in the driver's seat. Took him out of the passenger seat. I got in the passenger seat, and I went along for the ride. And I discovered that I loved teaching the Bible to high schoolers, and I loved the FCA fellowship that we had. And so that week at camp really helped me experience the joy of God in my life, and his calling on my life. I experienced the peace of God in a new way that week, because I wasn't trying to justify my actions that I knew were wrong, but weren't pleasing to the Lord, but that's what I wanted to do. So I experienced this peace. And so I left that camp thinking, okay, God, if this is what it means to live for Jesus 24/7, I'm all in. And so I went back to Tennessee Tech, made the changes that I needed to make, and began living for the Lord and chasing after the calling that God had placed on my life. And it's been a great journey. Not perfect, but I've experienced the blessings of God because of allowing him to be in the driver's seat as best I know how. And again, it's not been perfect, but I've tried to let God be in the driver's seat ever since. And I want to challenge you as you watch this story. Have you let God be in the driver's seat, or is he still in the passenger seat? Are you still trying to live for yourself while trying to please God at the same time? It doesn't work, does it? And so I hope that you'll consider allowing God to be the Lord of your life, the boss. Surrender your life all over again. I mean, we have to do that really on a daily basis, surrendering this day, each day as it comes to him and following him. So thank you for watching my story.